Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, with me Shail Bhatnagar, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the D Street. Well, we've come off the high point of the day for sure, and we've slipped further. We are now inching closer to the 24,000 mark. Remember, we were up over 24,200 in the morning as well. So there is a drop of about 0.6% odd. It's the Nifty Bank that has been on the losing ground. Over 600 points of a cut for the Nifty Bank right now. We are hovering around that 51,000 mark. 1.1% lower there. There is also a pocket of IT that has slipped. The Nifty IT index is down by 1.3%. You have banks. Pharma also is lower by over a percent. Private banks are also lower by 0.8%, 1% loss for the private banks right there. Small caps and mid caps have also given up their gains, morning gains as well. So that's as far as how the index or the sectoral action is. But there is some move on the oil and gas space. The index is up by 1.5% odd. Consumer durables, FMCG and PSU banks, along with some metals. These are the pockets that still hover higher. About ONGC is the top mover with 5% of an uptick. Tata Motors has climbed up again, 791 coming in for this one. You have Titan, HUL and also SBI Life Insurance as the top 5 movers on the Nifty. While IT names like Wipro, Tech Mahindra, that's down in trade. Banking names like HDFC, ICICI Bank have also dragged, and Adani Ports. These are the top 5 losers in trade. But the retail space continues to shine bright, with Avenue Supermarts continuing to be 11.5% higher in the F&O space. Good afternoon, Shail.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's the last date of work, and what's really happening is that you have a very strong traction in the PSU pack, and that's what is really heartening. Look at the way how ONGC is moving up 5% higher. Look at ITI Sakshi, 19%, circuit up, and very heavy volume. ITI is today the top traded counter. 3,776 crores worth of ITI has been traded. I'm sure this is a huge volume. Yes, this is the highest volume since mid-November, and we still have 1 hour to go. So circuit, highest volume in the last 3 months, and of course a PSU company and at a record high. So momentum is there. Maybe the Nifty is about to test 24,000, and from then on you will possibly see some kind of activity. Remember, it had gained 100, it had gained 300 points, 350 points yesterday. It's given up about 150. So nothing to be worried about as such, and mostly traders would be hesitant to extend positions ahead of the weekend. And in any case, we've had a very sharp rise on Monday. So apart from ITI, look at ITDC, 17% higher. Look at Maharashtra Bank. Look at Hindustan Zinc, 3.5%, 4% higher. And of course, look at old world favorites. Sakshi, when was the time we marked Engineers India? There was a time for, I think, a couple of months that we would only discuss these stocks, and in the last 6 months or so, we've forgotten about them. Yeah. But this is how it is. Let's look at some other action on volume buzzers, and you will see Saregama, yes. 13% up, 19 times 5-day volume. So all I'm trying to say is these are very few examples that I'm giving that there is across the board rally happening. If you can forget Nifty and Bank Nifty for a while and focus on where the action is, like the energy index, the metals index, the PSU banking index, FMCG, Nifty Next 50, and be happy. So this is how the money is moving into select counters, and it's doing with immense speed. Volumes are back, advance decline is 1:1. I wouldn't be worried much.
Okay. We also have our guest now joining in. Raghavendra Singh, market expert, is joining in. Warm welcome to you, Raghavendra, and wish you a very happy 2025. Warm welcome into this new year. Hopefully this turns out to be the best one yet for you, for your loved ones and your team as well. Tell us, for the markets, what is your big bang expectation for this year?
Thank you. Very good afternoon. Tell you very good afternoon, and happy new year to both of you and your entire team. Sakshi, as far as market is concerned, we have seen a glimpse of that upside rally yesterday with the 500 points. अब ये साल तो देखिए ऐसा लग रहा है कि जो पिछले साल हो चुका पिछले 4-5 महीने में, तो मोस्ट ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर ट्रेडर्स आर लिटिल बिट वरीड एंड दे आर वेरी मच, देयर इज पैनिक इन among the investors and traders. Now I'm expecting कि ये साल थोड़ा सा हो सकता है इन्वेस्टर्स और ट्रेडर्स के लिए अच्छा हो. मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स आप देखोगे तो मैक्सिमम जो स्टॉक्स हैं वो 40-50% नीचे है. मतलब अगर आप रोज का, अगर मैं डेटा भी देखता हूँ तो ऑलमोस्ट जितने भी मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप स्टॉक्स हैं, मैक्सिमम स्टॉक्स बहुत नीचे हैं. तो अगेन दिस ईयर आई एम वेरी मच होपफुल एंड पॉजिटिव, एंड आई बिलीव ये साल सबके लिए अच्छा हो. स्पेशली जो इक्विटी मार्केट है, जो हमारे इन्वेस्टर्स हैं इक्विटी मार्केट में, उनके लिए अच्छा हो. मुझे उम्मीद है कि ये साल सबके लिए अच्छा होगा. और मुझे लगता है जितने भी फ्रंटलाइन स्टॉक्स हैं उसमें रैली आनी चाहिए. आप देखिए अभी जो रैली स्टार्ट हुई है, अभी बजट की रैली मुझे दिख रही है यहाँ पे. सो ऑलमोस्ट अगर आप देखिए तो जितने पीएसयू स्टॉक्स हैं, जैसे कि आप देखो यूपीएल ले लो आप, और मुझे लगता है कि ओएनजीसी, जितने ऑयल स्टॉक्स में ले लो आप, तो ऑयल इंडिया, आरईसी, एनर्जी स्टॉक्स हैं, आरईसी, पीएफसी, मुझे लगता है ये स्टॉक्स, पीएसयू बैंक, बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, यूनियन बैंक, बैंक बड़ौदा, ये सारे स्टॉक्स आप देखिए धीरे धीरे ऊपर जा रहे हैं. तो अगेन आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग big bang budget in the next month on 1st February by the FM. तो मुझे लगता है एक छोटा सा जो है एक रैली, बजट की रैली शायद अभी स्टार्ट हुई है, एंड दिस में कंटिन्यू टिल द आई थिंक 28th एंड मंथ एंड.
Okay.
राघवेंद्र जी, हमारा पीसीआर प्रोडक्शन रूम पूछ रहा है, ये जो आप अभी साक्षी और मेरे को न्योता दे रहे थे पुणे आने का, क्या इसमें प्रोडक्शन स्टाफ भी इंक्लूडेड है? क्योंकि उन्होंने शो प्रोड्यूस करने से मना कर दिया अगर ये न्योता उनको नहीं दिया गया तो.
बिल्कुल सर, मैं तो चाहता हूँ पूरी टीम आए यहाँ पे. हमारा क्लब है यहाँ पे कैफे CO2. मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप एक बार आइए पुणे, देखिए उसको. बहुत मेहनत से बहुत अच्छे से बनाया है हम लोगों ने, और एक अच्छा नाम है. गूगल पे सर्च भी कर सकते हैं.
जी जी
एक
जी
अच्छा नाम है. गोवा में भी स्टार्ट हो रहा है अभी अगले महीने.
जी.
तो अच्छा लगेगा सर आप लोगों को.
हाँ जी जी. तो बस अब कोई वीकेंड का हमें इंतज़ाम करना है. न्योता मिल गया रहने का, अब बस एयर टिकट या ट्रेन टिकट का इंतज़ाम करवाते हैं.
कोई स्पॉन्सर ढूंढना
अगले
पड़ेगा हम
गेस्ट
लोगों
कौन
को.
से हैं साक्षी? उनसे ही बात करेंगे.
एक स्पॉन्सर से ढूंढ लेते हैं, और जो कि हम लोगों को फ्लाइट टिकट भी स्पॉन्सर कर दे.
We
So,
can all
पूरी
club
टीम
with
एक
our
साथ पे आ
BT
जाएगी.
Golf edition coming in on soon for Pune as well. And I
Yes.
think that will be the culmination of 2025. It will be the best one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember, Sakshi, you had gone to a lovely golf course. I was
Oxford.
there for an event, I remember. It was way off the city, about 20-30 kilometers away from
Yes.
the airport, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, Oxford Golf
Okay,
Resort
okay.
in
ठीक
Pune.
है.
Yes, yes,
राघवेंद्र
yes,
जी,
yes,
ये बात पक्की हो गई
yes,
है.
मुझे पता है. Yes सर, बहुत अच्छी जगह है ऑक्सफोर्ड
Yes.
गोल्फ कोर्स की. मेरा जो मैं क्लब की बात कर रहा हूँ वो यहीं पे है, नजदीक में ही है. बहुत अच्छा है.
हाँ, चलिए चलिए. तो अब बस ये बात पक्की हो गई. जो हमारा अगला आउटडोर इवेंट होगा वो आप ही के यहाँ करेंगे, और पूरा हमारा पीसीआर भी आएगा. चलिए, अब ये बताइए जल्दी से राघवेंद्र जी, टाटा मोटर्स के बारे में क्या करें? जबरदस्त धमाकेदार वॉल्यूम, 1682 करोड़ शेयर का ट्रांजैक्शन, 1682 करोड़ का इसमें वॉल्यूम आ चुका, और मेरे ख्याल से वही मध्य नवंबर से अब तक ये सबसे ज्यादा वॉल्यूम है. क्या लगता है आपको, क्या कहता है आपके सामने टाटा मोटर्स? लगभग 2.15 करोड़ शेयर ट्रेड हुए हैं, बताइए.
टाटा मोटर स्टाइल जी बिल्कुल बहुत अच्छा चार्ट बना है. आप देखिए स्ट्रक्चर इसका, लोअर टॉप लोअर बॉटम था, अब ये यहाँ से बहुत अच्छी रैली दे रहा है. तो ये आप देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि मॉर्निंग स्टार का क्लोजिंग भी है वीकली बेसिस पे. तो अब ये स्टॉक यहाँ से मुझे लग रहा है कि 1000 तक के लिए जाने की तैयार हो रहा है अगले एक महीने के अंदर. और ये मंथ, ये समझ लीजिए आपकी ऑटो स्टॉक का मंथ है, जो मैंने पिछले हफ्ते भी कहा था शो पे आप लोगों के साथ, कि ये मंथ हो सकता है ऑटो इंडेक्स के लिए. तो बस टाटा मोटर की तैयारी है, और एक 800 के ऊपर बस मुझे एक दिन की चाहिए क्लोजिंग, और ये स्टॉक अब यहाँ से 1000 के लिए जो है के लिए तैयार हो रहा है.
क्या बात है. ओके, बहुत सारे लोग ये सुनकर काफ़ी खुश होंगे राघवेंद्र जी। बहुत सारे टाटा मोटर्स के हमारे पास क्वेश्चंस आते रहते हैं डेली कॉल्स में, जिसमें आप अक्सर आते हैं और बहुत लोग वेट कर रहे हैं कि कभी अपनी रेंज से ब्रेकआउट होगा। अब आपने उनको 1000 की दिशा दिखा दी है तो फाइनली उनके अंदर एक बार फिर से इंथुजियाज्म जागेगा। और मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि आईटीडीसी वालों ने हम लोगों की बातें सुन ली हैं, जो हम लोग ट्रैवल का प्लान बना रहे थे, क्योंकि आप इस शेयर को देखिए 17% ऊपर है आज ये आईटीडीसी का शेयर, ज़बरदस्त रैली के साथ। और टूरिज्म स्पेस में एक बढ़िया रैली देखने को मिल रही है। राघवेंद्र जी, टूरिज्म हॉस्पिटैलिटी स्पेस कहाँ कहाँ पर दाव
बिल्कुल
लगाएं?
बिल्कुल साक्षी, मुझे लग रहा है कि जिस हिसाब से न्यू ईयर इस बार सेलिब्रेट हुआ है और उसका रिजल्ट मुझे लग रहा है कि जितने भी इस टाइप के स्टॉक्स हैं, चाहे वो आईटीडीसी हो, जोमेटो हो या फिर स्विगी हो, आप जो भी इस इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हैं, हॉस्पिटैलिटी इंडस्ट्री से रिलेटेड है, मुझे लगता है उन सब में तेजी आ रही है और आएगी भी। सो इसके अलावा मुझे लगता है कि स्विगी एंड जोमेटो एक ऐसे स्टॉक्स हैं जो यहाँ से ऊपर जा सकते हैं। आईटीडीसी तो है ही अच्छा स्टॉक, जैसे मैंने बोला आपको, जितने भी की पीएसयू स्टॉक्स उसमें रैली आ रही है और ये बजट के भी स्टॉक्स हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बजट की जो थीम है वो अभी आगे भी कंटिन्यू रह सकती है, तो बिल्कुल इसमें निवेश कर सकते हैं।
चलिए, 2:44 लगभग 16 और 30, समझिए 36 मिनट का बाजार बचा है और आपको अच्छा मूवमेंट साक्षी आते हुए दिख रहा है। निफ्टी एफएमसीजी इंडेक्स में ध्यान दीजिएगा कि ये बात हम लोग कभी दोबारा भी करेंगे, लेकिन फ़िलहाल एक बहुत ही बढ़िया मूव आपको निफ्टी एफएमसीजी इंडेक्स में आता हुआ दिख सकता है। ध्यान दीजिए कि सितंबर और दिसंबर में लगभग 21% का करेक्शन इंडेक्स में हुआ था। स्टॉक्स जैसे कोलगेट, मैरिको, डाबर में बहुत ज़बरदस्त पिटाई हुई और अब यहाँ पर बाइंग सपोर्ट आता हुआ दिख रहा है। इसकी चर्चा हम लोग कुछ समय बाद भी करेंगे। और पहला हफ्ता हरे निशान में या दूसरा हफ्ता हरे निशान में इंडेक्स पर आपको आता हुआ दिख रहा है। अब देखते हैं कि बुरा समय ख़त्म हुआ या नहीं हुआ। लास्ट आपने ये प्राइसेस जून 2018 में 2024 में देखे थे, तो एक बढ़िया बेस बिल्डिंग एक्सरसाइज पिछले 2 हफ्ते से होती हुई जा रही है। तो एफएमसीजी इंडेक्स पर मेरे को कोई ईटीएफ तो नहीं मिल रहा। एक बार मैंने फार्मा ईटीएफ और आईटी ईटीएफ पर चर्चा करी थी। एफएमसीजी का कोई ईटीएफ है क्या? उस पर नहीं जी, है आईसीआईसीआई प्रू निफ्टी एफएमसीजी ईटीएफ। ज़रा मैं इस पे 2 मिनट समय बिताता हूँ। तब तक साक्षी आप राय लीजिए राघवेंद्र जी से डाबर और मैरिको पर।
राघवेंद्र जी, फिलहाल डाबर मैरिको और उसके बाद एक बार आईटीसी के ऊपर भी चर्चा करेंगे।
साक्षी, अगर आप एफएमसीजी का अगर आप देखें चार्ट, तो ओवरऑल जो सेक्टर के स्टॉक्स है, इंडेक्स जो है वो अभी बॉटम आउट हो चुका है। मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ से बहुत स्ट्रांग रैली आनी थी एफएमसीजी टोटल इंटायर, जो भी इसके आप देखिए सेक्टर के जो स्टॉक्स होते हैं। टावर आप देखिए बिल्कुल एकदम रिवर्सल मोड पे है, आइलैंड रिवर्सल आप इसको बोल सकती हैं, आरएसआई सपोर्ट है और मुझे लग रहा है कि ये स्टॉक ने ब्रेकआउट दिया है 525 के ऊपर। तो मुझे लगता है कि डाबर जो है ये यहाँ से 577 तक की रैली मिलनी चाहिए, मुझे लगता है 10 दिनों के अंदर, जो यहाँ से मुझे लग रहा है कि कम से कम 10% के आसपास का होता है। तो ये एक स्टॉक है जो यहाँ से ऊपर जा सकता है। दूसरा जो आईटीसी की बात कर रहे हैं, तो आईटीसी भी आप देखिए बहुत दिनों से आईटीसी एक सीमित दायरे में है और अब ये यहाँ से बहुत तेजी से ऊपर जाने के लिए छलांग मार रहा है। तो मुझे लगता है कि आज जो इसमें गिरावट आई है, ये इनकैश करना चाहिए अपॉर्चुनिटी यहाँ से एक्यूमुलेट करने के लिए। 472 का स्टॉप लॉस लगाइए और इसको स्टॉक को जो है यहाँ से बाई कीजिए और मुझे लगता है कि 500 प्लस की रैली मिलनी चाहिए यहाँ से।
ओके, गॉट दैट। चलिए, यहाँ पर भी आईटीसी पर राय मिल गई है। उन लोगों के लिए बताइए, आखिरी आई थिंक 40 मिनट बचे हैं, जिन लोगों को अगर होटल्स के फ्री शेयर्स मिलने की अपॉर्चुनिटी खोनी नहीं है, वो आईटीसी आज ही उनको खरीदना पड़ेगा, तब जाके उनके अकाउंट में आएगा और उसके बाद डीमर्जर के बाद होटल का एक फ्री शेयर अगर 10 शेयर्स किसी के भी अकाउंट में हैं आईटीसी के तो उनको मिल पाएंगे। तो उनके लिए क्या राय है, ले लेना चाहिए आईटीसी के फ्री होटल शेयर्स लेने के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी लेनी चाहिए या फिर सीधा होटल्स में निवेश करें?
नहीं, बिल्कुल यहाँ से लेनी चाहिए। मुझे लगता है कि थोड़े से प्रॉफिटेबल रहेंगे 5-10% डेफिनेटली, क्योंकि ये डिमर्जर जो है बहुत पहले अनाउंसमेंट हुआ था, तो मुझे लगता है मैक्सिमम लोगों ने ऑलरेडी बाई कर लिया होगा। बट जिन लोगों ने अभी तक बाई नहीं किया है, बिल्कुल यहाँ बाई कर सकते हैं। एक अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है आज मुझे। 2% स्टॉक नीचे है, तो मैंने जैसे बोला 470 का आप स्टॉप लॉस लगाइए, और आज अगर बाई करते हैं तो आपको जो है होटल स्टॉक मिलेगा। तो बिल्कुल आपके लिए विन विन सिचुएशन है। स्टॉक को डेफिनेटली बाई कीजिए आप।
ओके ओके, चलिए, तो यहाँ पर भी आपको राय मिल गई है कि होटल शेयर का फ्री शेयर लेना
12
है
और
तो
30
आप निवेश कर सकते हैं। जी शेयर।
Sakshi, Marico is doing very well. This is now at 622. I think the previous high that we have seen is somewhere somewhere in October when it was at 719. And I have managed to find that ETF. Let me just request the PCR to sort of get that up and running. So this is an ETF that you can look at, and this is the Prudential ICICI Nifty FMCG ETF at about what's the price? 60 rupees 58 paisa, and it has been launched in August of 2021, and between them and now it has given a compounded CAGR return of 15.8%. A very strong portfolio it has, and that portfolio has ITC at its top stake. About 34% of its portfolio is in ITC. Is that possible? Percentage of assets, yes, 34%. And what is the size of the fund? 436. And it has everything that you can think of, Hindustan Unilever, and of course Varun Beverages. What else is there? Let me just show it to you. Nestle, Varun Beverages, Tata Consumer, Britannia. Everything that's clicking today is also in that particular ETF. Please take a look, but also consult your financial advisor and then take a call. Also moving strongly is Sakshi, another stock which is SBI card. It's seen a very, very bad time. Now it is moving from its 100-month moving average. SBI card, Raghavendra ji, what are the charts telling you?
SBI कार्ड शायद ही देखिए पिछले 3 दिनों से लगातार ऊपर है, तो 3 स्टेप सोल्जर्स एंड ये यहाँ से डबल बॉटम बना के रिवर्स लिया. सो अगेन आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग अ वेरी स्ट्रांग अपसाइड, एंड देयर इज अ स्ट्रांग रेजिस्टेंस एट 730. Once this stock close and break and close above 730, so again we can expect 775 and 780 level on the higher side. Lower side we can keep any stop loss of 700. So definitely this is a buy stock, and the strongest thing is that RSI is reversal mode. So I think the indicators are also indicating that the stock a potential to touch 780 level. So definitely one can buy it.
ओके, चलिए, एसबीआई कार्ड्स पर भी यहाँ पर आपको राय मिल गई है। कुछ और पॉकेट्स देखते हैं जहाँ पर एक मूव है। लेट्स अगेन रिविजिट एवेन्यू सुपरमार्ट्स येट अगेन, राघवेंद्र जी, द वे इट हैज़ कम बैक टुडे, and the sharp rally has come in after this Q3 business update. This stock was definitely feeling the heat of competition in the quick commerce space, but again a rally in the standalone revenues has again brought back attention to its strong fundamentals. But again, it is a reality, the quick commerce and the rising competition there. Avenue Supermart hasn't yet started on to that space. What should investors do here on Avenue?
साक्षी देखिए एक छोटा सा गैप है ऊपर 4800 to 4200. So they just there is a strong resistance is 4190 4200. एक बार ये स्टॉक वो लेवल क्रॉस करेगा देन 4800 का बिल्कुल वहां पे टच होना चाहिए और जो ऊपरी लेवल का जो गैप है ना वो भरेगा। तो मेरे हिसाब से जब तक ये 4200 जो क्रॉस नहीं करता अभी यहाँ पे 100 रुपए की अगर किसी को बाई करना है तो बाई कर सकता है। बट अभी ये फिलहाल अभी यहाँ से मुझे लगता है इट इज ऑलरेडी ओवर हीटेड एंड ओवरबॉट जोन। तो बेसिकली अभी 10-12% ऊपर है तो इसको अवॉइड करें। थोड़ा सा नीचे आता है क्योंकि बिकॉज जो आज जो गैप लिया है इसने वो गैप भरने के लिए एक बार नीचे आ सकता है। तो अगर नीचे मिलता है देन उसको इस स्टॉक को बाई करें एंड कीप अ स्टॉप लॉस ऑफ 3700।
Okay. For the moment, the Nifty is now 145 points lower. Bank Nifty is down 555 points. But Sakshi, note, India VIX is not up. So that's also slipping in trade. So, basically this is just normal profit booking. People shouldn't be worried much. Let's get our view in on DMart. Raghavendra ji, what are the charts of DMart telling you? Today almost 3600 crores have been traded on DMart. It earlier hit a circuit on the morning trade, 15% higher, and the volume that I see is phenomenal. I think we haven't seen this kind of a volume since 2017. Wow. The last time we saw this volume, it was on 24th of May 2018. Your view, sir?
सर जी देखिए स्टॉक ऑलरेडी बहुत ऊपर है। थोड़ा सा वेट करें करेक्शन का। देयर इज अ स्मॉल गैप 4200 टू 4800। वो गैप काफी बड़ा है। वो गैप जब तक वो मुझे लगता है भरना चाहिए एक मंथ में। बट उसको भरने के लिए हमको क्लोजिंग 4100 के ऊपर चाहिए। बट अभी फिलहाल देखिए यहाँ से जो रिवर्सल लिया आज इसमें वॉल्यूम अच्छा है तो मुझे लगता है कुछ दिन तक थोड़ा ये शांत रहेगा। यहाँ पे जंप करके बाई करना थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है रिस्की है। रिस्क रिवॉर्ड उतना फेवरेबल नहीं है। थोड़ा वेट करें। एक बार मुझे लगता है थोड़ा नीचे मिलेगा। मुझे 150 रुपए के नीचे मिलता है कल या परसों तो मुझे लगता है वो एक अच्छी जगह होगी जहाँ पे हम बाई कर सकते हैं।
Okay, so that's again on DMart. Let's again keep focus on some of the other pockets that are buzzing. In the broader market, some interesting names. Let me just take some of those names there, which are actually sharply higher. Aztec Life Sciences is at a 20% circuit today at 1164. ITI was pointed out by Shell earlier, 20% circuit on this one. Saregama, 14% higher. ITDC, about 14% up. Then you have Lloyd's Engineering, that's up 12%. You have Banari Aman Spinning, that's up in trade. You have Ester Industries, that's moving. PTC Industries from the defense pack is again up about 10 odd percent at 14,500 odd levels. Then you have Ashapura Minechem, that's up by about 8%. Again defense space, Apollo Microsystems is another one that's on the move. Orient Technologies is another one. TFC, now Tourism Finance Corporation, the theme that we have discussed is again on the move as well. So many of these stocks that are actually buzzing sharply higher in trade. राघवेंद्र जी, ब्रॉडर मार्केट्स में कोई नाम पसंद आ रहा है अभी आपको जहां पर जबरदस्त रैली है? डिफेंस में से कोई?
साथी देखिए जिन जिन स्टॉक्स का नाम लिया ये सारे स्टॉक मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप के हैं। अगर ये
जी
ब्रॉडर मार्केट में ऊपर है इसका मतलब कि ये यहाँ से अब जो है थोड़ी सी जो एक कंफर्टेबल जोन था मुझे लग रहा है अब वो धीरे धीरे इन्वेस्टर का कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ रहा है तो वो एक मुझे इंडेक्स में दिखाई दे रहा है स्टॉक्स में दिखाई दे रहा है। वो एक अच्छी बात है। तो रिवर्सल जो है मुझे लगता है कि ये अब स्टार्ट हुआ है तो ये शायद कंटिन्यू रहेगा। डिफेंस स्टॉक में जैसे मैंने कई बार आप लोगों के साथ डिस्कस किया है अपोलो माइक्रो सिस्टम बहुत अच्छी कंपनी है। बहुत बढ़िया 100 रुपए के आसपास ट्रेड हो रहा था। आज वो 120-25 के रेंज में ट्रेड हो रहा है। तो धीरे धीरे स्टॉक में जो है अच्छा खासा वॉल्यूम भी है और ये स्टॉक धीरे धीरे यहाँ से ऊपर जा रहा है। इसके अलावा जैसे हमने बात किया आईटीडीसी का और जो इंडियन होटल देख लीजिए आप वो एक अच्छा स्टॉक है। मुझे लगता है कि वो एक स्टॉक ऐसा इंडियन होटल जो यहाँ से धीरे धीरे मुझे लग रहा है अब यहाँ से ऊपर जा सकता है 950-1000 रुपए के रेंज में। तो ओवरऑल देखिए मुझे लग रहा है मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप में रैली चालू रहेगी और मुझे लगता है कि ये जो है हो सकता है अगले हफ्ते आईटी स्टॉक थोड़े नीचे रहे या थोड़ा हो सकता है कि जो बैंकिंग स्टॉक है वो नीचे रहे। बट ऑटो स्टॉक मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप एंड एफएमसीजी ये चार सेक्टर ऐसे हैं जो मुझे लगता है कि अब यहाँ से जो है स्ट्रांगली निफ्टी को ऊपर लेके जो जा सकते हैं।
257 and banks are now coming back into action. Look at Karur Vyasa Bank. We normally don't discuss this stock a lot, but today you have very high volume, and of course the counter is near a record high, almost near a record high. The high that we've seen is somewhere like 240, and now recoup starts at 226. With banks in focus, and probably they will also be informing about their business update. Raghavendra ji, Karur Vyasa Bank for you.
Strategy Karur Vyasa Bank, there is a strong upside from 206 level. Now stock is hovering around 226. So I think there is a strong strong resistance at 228, 229. एक बार ये लेवल क्रॉस करे सैलरी, फिर उसके बाद बन जाता है कंफर्टेबल जोन में आएगा, बिकॉज ये हेड एंड शोल्डर बना रहा है. अभी ये सेकंड शोल्डर का जो इसका फॉर्मेशन है वो अभी बन रहा है. तो ये अभी बन के तैयार होगा. उसके बाद देखेंगे अगर ये फेल होता है और 228 को क्रॉस करता है, देन ये स्टॉक 245 260 तक जा सकता है.
Okay, got that. Raghavendra ji, what is your own view on the next week's action? We've seen 2 days of fantastic up move on the market after the new year hit open. Today it's been some bit of profit booking. What is the strategy that investors should have for the next week now?
Sakshi, as far as we are holding 24,000 level and 23,800 level, there is no problem for the Nifty and Bank Nifty index. So I think Nifty can take a strong support at 24,000, and I'm expecting 24,700, 25,000 in the month of January. So again, next week I'm expecting 24,700, 24,600 on the higher side. Lower side, we can keep any stop loss of 23,800. Bank Nifty similarly, I'm expecting to take strong support at 50,800, 51,000 level, and then Bank Nifty can touch around 53,000 level on the higher side.
Okay, got that. Raghavendra ji, before we bid goodbye to you and thank you on this show, there is another fear as far as diseases from China are concerned are again taking shape, and some fear is coming in again. There are some reports on a new disease called HMPV that's affecting elderly and children in China. In fact, Chinese hospitals are again being seen as overwhelmed, and so there is this fear of, is there any other kind of an epidemic that could be underway? China is going through an upsurge in respiratory diseases. This HMPV is emerging as a key concern. Last month, the country began piloting a monitoring system for winter illnesses, including pneumonia of an unknown origin. So this has to do something with the respiratory condition that is developing amongst children and elderly in China. When such situations occur, there is always this fear, because we've seen in the recent past how COVID has impacted the world. And of course, while the stock markets did recover, but we are already looking at so many uncertainties in the world. This is something that is probably the world does not need at this point in time. Any view on this one? Have you been tracking this at all?
डेफिनेटली साक्षी, देखिए इस तरीके की चीजें तो हमेशा रहती हैं सिस्टम में, और हमेशा ये क्लियर रहता है, बिकॉज अभी देखिए ट्रम्प आने वाले हैं, वहां पे अनसर्टेनिटी है इलेक्शन में, उसके बाद अभी क्या जाएंगे. चाइना इज ऑलवेज द मक्का ऑफ दिस काइंड ऑफ डिसीजेज, वो हमेशा रहा है. तो उनके लिए वो कितना इम्पैक्टफुल होगा वो देखना है. और एक चीज आप ये जान लो कि जो स्टॉक मार्केट के ट्रेडर हैं वो ऑलरेडी इतने फ्लक्चुएशन से उनका जो कलेजा इतना मजबूत हो चुका है कि उनको ये डिजीजेज कोविड ने नहीं कुछ कर पाया, तो ये क्या कर पाएंगे. तो मेरे लिए जितने मेरे इन्वेस्टर हैं, ट्रेडर हैं, वो ऑलरेडी बहुत स्ट्रांग है. मुझे लगता है ये लोग खुद मार्केट को होल्ड करेंगे. एंड मुझे लगता है कि जो हमारे डोमेस्टिक इन्वेस्टर्स हैं वो डेफिनेटली उनको भी कंसर्न है, क्योंकि इसमें सिर्फ हमारा आपको पता नहीं लगा है, सबके पैसे लगे हुए हैं. तो बाजार में ये फियर हमेशा रहता है कि देयर इज अनसर्टेनिटी, और क्या कब किधर आ जाए, सुनामी आ जाए, कोई डिजीज आ जाए. बट इससे अपने को अपॉर्चुनिटी ढूंढनी है इसमें. और मुझे लगता है अगर ऐसी कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी आती है तो डेफिनेटली वो हमें इन्वेस्ट करेगा, वो हमें इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए यहाँ पर.
दिलेरी अगर आपको देखनी हो तो और समझनी हो तो आप राघवेंद्र जी से मिलें और समझें कि किस हिसाब से आप दुनिया का, देश का टेक्निकल चार्ट्स का सामना कर सकते हैं. ये हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, और साथ ही साथ ओशो कृष्ण जी जुड़ चुके हैं, सीनियर रिसर्च एनालिस्ट टेक्निकल्स एंड डेरिवेटिव्स एट एंजल वन. Namaste Osho, a very warm welcome to you. Happy New Year, and we are starting the first week of Jan on a fairly okay kind of a move. How do you analyze this dip in the Nifty today against the background of a 300-point rise on the index yesterday?
Very good afternoon, Shal sir and Shakshi. Firstly, thank you for inviting me at your show and wish both of you a happy new year. Well, looking at the overall setup that we have seen in Nifty in the last three trading session, I am expecting that such kind of cool off or such kind of profit booking after three positive consecutive rally can be seen in the market. Although I am expecting that the 200 is simple moving average, which was a very strong resistance in the till last week, now should act as a very strong support for Nifty. So I'm expecting 24,000 should act as the first cushioning zone, but it is about to breach the same levels in today's session, I expect. So I'm expecting the 200 is simple moving average, which is around 23,900 odd levels. It should act as a very strong support for the coming week. So 23,900 should act as a very strong support. On the higher end, 24,200 and 24,250 should be the immediate resistance for Nifty. So once we breach the zone of 24,250, there can be a very strong continued buying momentum that can be seen in our market.
Okay, got that. Right. Raghavendra ji, we will thank you on that note for being with us on this very special edition to share with us all your thoughts and ideas. And Happy New Year yet again from all of us. Osho, wishing you a very Happy New Year as well. Hope this year turns out to be a great one for you. Tell us, what looks good to you afresh in terms of key sectors? Are you looking at some of those which are coming back with a vengeance? Maybe say metals, consumer durables, autos for that instance. These are the spaces that are coming back. Are you looking at them at all?
See, overall, there are many counters which are looking very positive to me for the time being, but specifically, firstly, that is into the radar is the gas distribution companies. Companies like MGL, IGL, Gujarat Gas, ONGCs, all these have given a very strong momentum, and that has been backed by very strong volume. So I expect that there can be a continued buying momentum that can be seen in these counters. So my first recommendation will be from the gas distribution company, that is MGL, approximately trading around the zone of 1310. So one can definitely try to accumulate this share around these levels. On the lower end, 1270 should be kept as a stop loss, while on the higher end, I am expecting a target of nearly 1380 to 1400. That is from short term perspective. But if it breaches the zone of 1400, then again we can see a continuation of higher trend. The other counter is from FMCG space. From FMCG, again, after a very long period, we have started gaining traction, or we have started seeing traction in the FMCG counters. So some of the counters have seen a very strong consolidation breakout, while some others are into the mode of reversal. So the first breakout counter is Marico. Marico, if I have to say, in the last trading session, it has gained a decent movement, and today there has been a strong follow-up buying also. So I'm expecting that there can be a strong continuation that can be seen in Marico. On the higher end, I am expecting approximately a target of 685 to 690, while on the lower end, 640 should be kept as a stop loss for short-term traders.
Okay.
306 in front of us. Let's just dip into the market. We are seeing heavy activity now. Both ITI and DMart and Tata Motors are top traded counters. Now almost 1700, 1800 crores worth of Tata Motors shares have been traded. There is a lot of activity in retail counters after DMart's update. Therefore, you see Vishal Megamart, V2 Retail, Spencer Retail, even Style Bazaar, all showing very, very strong gains. Apart from that, it's the PSU pack that is doing very well, led today by ONGC. Strong moves coming into oil marketing companies. There is hectic activity on Ireda, HUDCO. All these stocks are doing phenomenally well. Within the PSU basket, Osho, what would be your top pick for next week?
Osho, could you unmute yourself, please?
So sorry. Actually, I was saying that majority of the PSU counters have started gaining some traction in the last two trading sessions. ONGC will be the one of the preferred pick, but it has already gained approximately 5 to 6% in today's trading session and around 10% in the week. So that means from here onwards, we can see a very strong reversal kind of a pattern on the weekly time frame chart. So that means the broader structure is very positive for this counter. And I'm expecting a short-term target of nearly 280 to 285, but that will be on a gradual up move. While on the lower end, the zone of 247 should be providing as a strong support for this counter. While other counters like Coal India is also looking very positive to me, this counter have also started gaining some decent traction and is on the verge of giving a breakthrough above the 20-day exponential moving average. So 395 to 400 will be the first crucial resistance. But after that, there can be a strong movement that can be seen in Coal India also for higher target of nearly 430 in the short-term time view. So this count is also looking positive, and even from insurance, LIC is looking very positive to me. So Life Insurance Corporation, which is currently hovering around the zone of 910, this is also looking very positive to me, and I'm expecting that in the coming period, it has a potential to retest the zone of 960 in the coming period. So one can definitely try to accumulate LIC also at these levels.
Okay, got that. Um, 200 points lower now on the Nifty, 23,979. We've slipped below that 24,000 mark right now, viewers. And let me just look at the index contributors right there. On the downside, you have HDFC Bank that's pulling down the Nifty lower. ICICI Bank is also among those which is pulling down, and the IT stocks like TCS, Infosys are also pulling down the Nifty. Let's discuss the banks and the large banks right there, Osho, HDFC, ICICI Bank. What are you really doing at this point in time amidst this volatility? Do you see this as a pressure that could continue, or should be seen this as a dip to buy into these large banks?
See, overall, today's fall is basically because or because of the fall in the majority of the private sector banks. But overall, if we look at the overall or a broader time frame structure, then majority of the counters are hovering near a very strong support zone. For HDFC Bank specifically, this counter have been into some kind of profit booking, or we can also say time-wise corrective phase. But on the lower end, the support is very nearby, approximately the zone of 1725, 1730 is a strong support for HDFC Bank, and even the technical parameters have seen a decent dip from the high. So we are already into the zone of oversold territory, just about to enter the oversold territory in HDFC Bank. So I expect that any kind of dip towards 1730 or 20 odd levels will be acting as an opportunity to accumulate this counter for not very aggressive target, but approximately 1800 will be the immediate target that one can expect in a very short term period. And only after 1800 we can expect the continuation of higher trend in HDFC.
Fair point. Let's take a detour into the broader markets now. We are approaching the end of this session, as also the end of the week. And if we have a close above 24,000 on the Nifty, and of course above 51,000 on the Bank Nifty, that will be a positive indication for the bulls. If you look at the Nifty weekly chart, a close above 24,000 will essentially mean that you have a second positive close, actually the first positive close. So on 23rd of December, the close was 23,813. We are hoping to cross 24 today, so let us see how it goes. But strong traction seen in many counters. Look at the way how Axis Cades is moving. I think there was a resignation from this company, but nothing much came out of it. DMart is the top gainer, 11.5% higher now. Banari Amman Spinning Mills, BASML, is 9.5% higher. No stopping EPAC, 5% higher. On the circuit is Sequent. Hubtown is doing very well. Uh, Card trade has a lot of traction, 4.5% higher. Our systems, Datamatics, these are some of the counters that are widely held in very good quality stocks, portfolios, and they are doing strong positive upticks as far as markets are concerned. Sakshi.
Right. Okay, 312 right now. Let us pull up some of the other stocks that we can take a view from Osho on. Osho railway story for you. Is it going strong? Should one go absolutely big ahead of budget here, or is it going to be still volatile? How are you approaching the railways pack, and which are the strongest counters on charts that you feel that can be seen right now?
See, overall, I expect that in the coming period, there can be a decent traction in majority of the railway space counter, because this is the month from where we have where we witnessed the pre-budget rally in the railway counter. So, looking at the historical trend, the upward movement in majority of the railway counters should start from the month of January, and I am expecting the technical structure is also a kind of showcasing a kind of a consolidation in majority of the counters. So, for short term or medium term perspective, one can definitely look into Jupiter Wagon. Jupiter Wagon has been into a very strong consolidation near the cluster of its exponential moving averages and also the 200 simple moving average. So I expect that in the coming period, there is a high possibility for this counter to give an outperformance. For on the technical front, I am expecting a target of nearly 640 on the short term perspective, followed by nearly 680, which is also the bearish gap on the daily time frame chart. So Jupiter Wagon is looking very positive to me. Then counters like IRFC is also showcasing some kind of consolidation around the cluster of its moving average. So any breakthrough above the zone of 160 can provide a strong momentum in this counter also. So one can definitely keep these counters in the watch list. Once they give a decisive breakthrough, one can definitely try to accumulate this counter from short to medium term perspective, or even for the pre-budget rally kind of a movement in these both the counters that I have mentioned.
Okay. Right. So that's as far as the railway story
3:14,
is concerned.
about 15-16 minutes of trade are left for markets today. And Sakshi, a stock that we don't discuss often but remains thick in news is buzzing in trade. It's Patanjali. Let's look at the chart that is there in front of us, and it's 1.5% higher at about 1860. Remember that Adani Wilmar has had a change of hands, and that will impact Patanjali in a very major fashion. There was a $2 billion block deal that had happened on Adani Wilmar, and both Patanjali and Adani Wilmar need to be checked. First to you, Osho, is the worst behind us as far as Adani Wilmar is concerned? It rose about 3.5% yesterday, and it actually rose 13% yesterday, and today it's a bit flat.
Firstly, Adani Wilmar is still having some kind of pessimism in the overall technical perspective from a broader term time frame, because it is hovering below the 200 simple moving average, and even after that there is a very strong hurdle of 350 odd levels. So there are consecutive or series of hurdles that can be seen in Adani Wilmar. Is firstly the 340 kind of a zone, which is the 200 the simple moving average, followed by the swing high, recent swing high of 350. So this will be a very strong resistance area for this counter, Adani Wilmar. The time it breaches the zone of 350, then we can see some kind of conviction returning back in the bullish momentum for this counter. So for those who are not having position, I will better advise to stay sidelines and wait for a breakout above 350. Once it happens, then only one can accumulate this counter for higher target of nearly 365, followed by 370 on the short term time frame. And coming to the next counter which you have mentioned was Patanjali. So Patanjali also is looking positive on the technical chart, but looking at the last consecutive weekly candlestick formation, so 1860 and 1880 kind of a zone has always restricted its upside movement. So it's better to wait for a further follow-up buying through or further follow-up breakthrough in this counter. Once it breaches the zone of 1900 on a decisive, that means on a closing manner, then one can definitely try to accumulate this counter for higher targets. Till that time, it's better to stay sidelines in both the counters.
Okay. All right. We also have some comments coming in on our social media for you, Osho. So just wanted to point that out. Abhishek Kumar has written, I'm a big fan of Osho, sir, and he wants to thank you for your advice on Jupiter wagons. So just wanted to point that out, that viewers are thankful for your views right there on the railway stocks. Okay. We'll take the next question then, Osho, for you. This let's keep an eye out on one of the pockets, and that's buzzing, and this is again the tourism space that I have been like looking at, and we've been consistently marking this, Shell and I, over the last many weeks now. Stocks like ITDC is up, Tourism Finance Corporation is up, hospitalities related stocks are up and about. Even the QSR chains are buzzing very, very strong. What are you doing in this space? What's attracting your attention?
See, overall, as you mentioned, that ITDC has seen a very strong momentum in today's trading session specifically, and has also emerged above the 200 simple moving average. So I'm expecting that there can be a continued or further momentum that can be seen in this counter. On technical basis, the support now has shifted towards the zone of 680 to 700 levels, while on the higher end, I am expecting a target of nearly 770 to 780 in the very short term period. So this technical structure of ITDC is looking very positive, and I'm expecting that there can be a further continuation to uptrend in the short term period.
3:19, ladies and gentlemen, just about 10-11 minutes left for trade. The battle remains concentrated at 24,000 for the Nifty and at about 50,900, let's just say 51,000 on the bank Nifty. Banks are in top shape. Sadly, it's not getting reflected on the bank Nifty because the index heavyweights are not doing well, but look at how RBL Bank is moving. A strong show coming on that one. RBL Bank for the moment is up 3.5%. Actually, up 3%, yes. And you have a strong move on Union Bank. That's the top gainer, 2.2% higher. Favorite PSU bank for you, Osho? What looks good?
I guess from here onwards, majority of the PSU banks are in a phase of giving a very strong reversal. So there is still some conviction lacking in majority of the counters. But overall, Federal Bank and Canara Bank is looking positive to me on the technical front. Firstly, Canara Bank has seen some kind of consolidation near the bullish gap of 99 odd levels and have started gaining some decent traction. So I expect that in the coming period, this counter has potential to test the zone of 108 109 in the short term period. So Canara Bank is one of the pick from the banking space, followed by Federal Bank. Federal Bank again yesterday has given a very strong consolidation breakout from the 100-day exponential moving average. And today, although there has been some kind of cool off or some kind of profit booking in the counter, but overall it is sustaining above the zone of 200 and even the short term moving averages. So I expect that in the coming period, Federal Bank can see some kind of good movement towards the zone of 215, 220 odd levels. While on the lower end, the support is very nearby. 197, 196 should be acting as a very strong support for this count.
Okay, got that. Let me ask you on Titan, Osho particularly, what do you think is next? Should this momentum be chased on Titan? 3447 right now, it's up by 1.7%, and not just Titan, the entire gems and jewelry space has been buzzing for a few weeks or so. Your sense particularly on Titan, what should one strategy be?
In Titan, we have seen a very strong resistance around the zone of 3500 in the month of December. It has consolidated for approximately 5-6 days and again has underwent into some kind of profit booking. So I expect until it breaches the zone of 3500 on a closing basis, there will be lack of conviction on the higher end in this counter. But the time it breaches the zone of 3500, then we might see a formation of cup and handle, which is a very bullish setup on the technical front, but for which we have to wait for another 60 odd points in Titan. If it happens, then we can definitely see approximately 300 point of upward rally in a very short term period. So above 3500, 3800 will be the target that one can expect in the short term period for Titan.
Okay. There is a very sharp move coming into Naukri, Naukri.com, and this is again a change in digit. Needless to say, we have a record high on this counter and a phenomenal weekly rally of 5%. So this is the start of a new wave probably. Last 2 weeks were sideways, but it's been on a very sharp uptrend from 11th of November, and now you see a digit change with a very sharp uptick. There is also a report doing round by Naukri on the latest job growth areas, and that's been very well received by the market. 2.2% higher today. The charts of Naukri, what are they telling you, Osho?
See, overall, this counter has always been into a very strong or very positive momentum. There has been no profit booking or no correction that has been seen in this counter over a very long period of time. For a short term duration, the 50-day and 20-day exponential moving average provides very strong cushioning to this counter. And again, from there onwards, we see a continuation in the higher end. But the technical parameters do not align very positively with the price movement. They are already into a very overstretched, overbought zone. And I'm expecting that if someone is already holding the position, then one should basically ride the momentum in this counter. But for a fresh accumulation or fresh entry, this won't be an perfect zone to accumulate this counter if there will be any further correction towards the 20-day exponential moving average, which is approximately 8600 levels at present. So that will be the apt level where one can try to accumulate this counter and keep riding the momentum until it persists in Naukri.
Okay, got that. Of course, when we talk about Naukri, Zomato comes straight onto the mind as well. So, Osho, what are you looking at for Zomato going forward from here? Zomato, Swiggy. We were discussing the quick commerce space with Raghavendra as well. But today, Zomato is down by about 4.5% odd. Are you seeing this as an opportunity to buy into the dip?
See, overall, the technical structure is very positive for Zomato, and I'm expecting that such kind of correction because it is currently hovering near the bullish gap on the daily time frame, which is approximately around the zone of 265, 268 odd levels. So, if there will be any kind of continued correction or profit booking that can be seen in this counter, that should augur very well for the buyers because in the historical trend, also the 100-day exponential moving average has cushioned the fall in this counter and has again started gaining some positive traction. So for the time being, there is a possibility of further correction towards the zone of 265 or 64, but that should be arguing very well for the buyers, and one can definitely try to accumulate the share around those levels from short to medium term time view.
3:26, 4 minutes are left. Let's start wrapping up the day. So it's been a disappointment on the Nifty and Bank Nifty. 200 points gone on the Nifty, and what is being tested is the 24,000 level on the index. We have a very, very strong show that has happened on the FMCG space. This is in the green, 0.25% higher. PSU banking index is a third percent higher. Nifty energy is up 0.4%. And out of the 19 indices that we track, 16 are in the red. Selling pressure on pharma. This is pure profit booking. People have made tons and tons and tons and tons of money on Nifty Pharma. Nifty Bank 1.2% down, 50,957. The only explanation that I can think of is that people don't want to take extended positions over the weekend and are booking what they can, given the hesitancy in the market. But there is huge traction in individual stocks, in particular the PSU pack. 20% on ITI, record high, about 3,800 crores worth of shares on ITI have been moved. ITDC 12.5% higher at 707. Intraday high was 739, so another 20%. And across the board, you have a very sharp rally coming into the PSU segment, whether it is IREDA, whether it is Hindustan Zinc, whether it's Engineers India, whether it's old world favorites PFC, REC. Defense is doing well, BDL up 1.2%. You have Oil India and ONGC leading the charge. So sentiment wise, I think the broader markets have shaped up better compared with the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. I'll also mark the record highs that are there in our space today, and they are of course ITI, hospital chain KIMS, 628 up 2.3%. Online insurance seller Policy Bazaar 2215. From the pharma space IPCA, as also from the NBFC financing space Muthoot Finance. There are about 12 other all-time highs, but the major ones that I have marked, and of course we've talked about Naukri.com as well. Sakshi, yours.
Right, okay. We are just 2 minutes away from the day's close right there. Osho, we will then thank you on that note for sharing with us all the views on the markets and several stocks and sectors. 200 points lower. And we have slipped below 24,000. Now we are down at 23,984 on the Nifty. Largely this has been dented by the banks as the Nifty Bank is down by 1.2%. So all those gains of the morning have been erased, and you can actually see private banks, financial services reeling under pressure now. IT pack, of course, 1.5% lower. Pharma is also down by 1.3%. So investors are pulling up all the money that they made right in the morning trade and in yesterday as well. The sharp rally. Broader markets have also slipped lower, about 0.3% of a cut for this one. Barring the oil and gas, consumer durables, PSU banks and FMCG. Rest all of the sectors have slipped into the red. Just about minor gains on all. Oil and gas, of course, is up over 1%, but rest of them just 0.2 to 2.5% higher in trade. ONGC is the top mover, still holding at 5% uptick. Tata Motors recovered today, 3% higher. SBI Life, Titan, these have been the winning counters on the Nifty. On the lower end, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank and Adani Ports were the top losers. PSU stocks managed to end the day higher, just about 0.7%, although they also came off from the day's high point. But REC, Oil India, ONGC, PFC, Indian Rail Finance, NTPC, NHPC, Coal India, Power Grid. So the power related stories were also going strong in today's trading session. Avenue Supermart clearly and in the FNO space as the top moving counter there, 12% higher. ONGC follows up next on the FNO space. You had UPL, Indraprastha Gas, Cholamandalam Investment as some of the counters that were in the winning zone. On the lower end, you had Angel One, Prestige, Nalco, Zomato, Delivery, these kind of stocks that were actually lower in trade. All right, so 199 points lower at 23,989. That's the closing level as far as the Nifty is concerned. We'll wrap it up at that, viewers, but do stay tuned. We'll come back after a weekend on Monday then to share with you all the market updates over the weekend as well. But even after the market hours, you can stay glued to Business Today television. There's a lot more for you to catch up beyond the stock market hours as well. Till then, it's a goodbye from both Shell and I for the weekend. We'll be seeing you on Monday morning now. Look at the commodity metals as well. Metals are coming back. They've had a volatile recent past as well. Avni, what is your own sense? The street is too much divided on whether the metals are going to have their year in up and about space in 2025. Is there going to be too much volatility yet again? What should be retail investors' approach in the metals pack? Should it be absolutely stock specific?
Sakshi, I'm glad you asked this question So, like last year, if someone had said that IT will be the dark horse of the year, and there were no absolutely no signs of that happening. But eventually, we saw the IT pack performing very well in this 2024-25 year, and from here on, in this particular year, one space that I mentioned is NBFC, where we could see a lot of momentum in the coming year. And the second sector is the metal sector, where I have a very
Okay.
bullish view. Metals, all the metal stocks should be performing absolutely great in 2025. So that is one area where you could probably do an SIP in whatever favorite stocks of yours are in the metal space. My bet would be on Vedanta and Hindalco.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.
What would be the top pick in the auto sector?
The Shelter, I think first compliment on your look. I think it really looks good, and I think you'll probably start a trend in terms of men's gold jewelry fashion. I pretty much hope that probably happens. Coming to the auto sector as a whole, I think what you probably witnessed were surprising numbers, because I think genuinely the street was not expecting, as an example, Maruti post a very decent set of numbers across its product suite. Eicher, again, surprising in terms of how it's growing out. But again, I think the surprising trend, as we discussed a couple of weeks back on your show as well, vehicles, specifically on the four-wheeler part, which are priced 15 or 18 lakhs above, I think the demand probably stays very, very stable and strong. Similarly, I think for higher range bikes, like what Eicher does, or the premium bikes that TVS is doing or Bajaj is doing, I think the appetite is still there. Obviously, you've seen elements of price increases come through because of input cost pressures starting Jan. But there are also a slew of launches expected to come through, specifically when it comes to SUVs and hybrid SUVs. Maruti is coming out with its Grand Vitara version. M&M is expected with a few launches as well. Tata Motors, a few launches as well. So competition is going to remain fierce in this space. Competition intensity will also mean that pricing also probably remains in check and not exaggerated as far as the four-wheeler space is concerned, or to a large extent even extend that argument to the two-wheeler space. So surprising set of numbers in December, the stocks reacted, but how the actual numbers play out in the quarter to come, in Q3 and Q4, is going to be an interesting deciding trend. Obviously, I think the first half of the next financial year, once the base effect is largely done with for this financial year, which largely would be flat year on year on a marginal increase, you should see some element of all these exercises as these companies are doing new launches, etc., actually starting to play on volumes and numbers as well. And therefore, I think within the pack, I think M&M as a stock still remains one of our preferred picks, and one of our picks in our global portfolios as well. A good mix in terms of the SUV portfolio, more launches coming, tractor portfolio doing well, and the substitutes doing well. Maruti has been a surprise in December, but again, I think it's a steady performer. And again, I think for India and Indian auto industry, sales after service becomes extremely, extremely critical, which Maruti probably had, and it's touching the right touch points through Nexa, premium, through its after sales network, the other products that it's brought in the mini SUV or the compact segment as well. So I think these two stocks might be standout performers as far as four-wheelers is concerned. Within two-wheelers, TVS Motors might actually continue its good run.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.
A 6% uptick on DMart. This has been a stock that has corrected very sharply, and the business update that has come in is heartening. Valuations, Mayuresh, for DMart, how do they stand as far as your valuation sheet is concerned, and where do you see the company, say, 2 years from now? It's facing a problem with this online 10-minute delivery that has, sort of captivated us all, at least in urban cities.
So business update shelter have probably propped up the price right now. But again, I think they are going through their periodicity of pain. So if you'll probably look at the last few quarters, numbers have been struggling for DMart. And obviously the model that they probably built in groceries and apparels. I think the entry point becomes groceries, and then the customers probably gravitate towards the apparel part within their stores itself. Again, the biggest advantage they've got is own stores, where the revenue per square feet, the EBITDA per square feet is far better than its competitors. But they are struggling. You are absolutely right. With online competitors, aggregators coming through, dark stores coming through, and mushrooming and expected to grow even further in the next few quarters. The Instamart operations or the quick commerce operations is something that is obviously hampering. But I'm pretty sure at some point of time, I think even DMart will devise a strategy that you probably expected to see in terms of tackling this competition as well, from their stores to local areas that they probably service in. I'm looking forward whether they probably come out with something on this front. And if they change their business model, tweaking to what the existing conditions and market conditions are like, I'm pretty sure that that can have a say in terms of how the numbers will play out. I think the promoters are far more intelligent than what I'm saying right now. And therefore, I think if these strategies come into force and they effectively reflect on numbers, I think a re-rating might come. So valuations are still steep. So it's not that the stock is cheap. It's always traded at premium valuations because of the numbers that they posted. Because of the lack of numbers and execution that was coming through, it has corrected. But I would still like to see for a quarter at least on how these numbers are playing out and how competition is playing out before any premium valuation and a re-rating is justified, at least from it.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.
Hello and welcome to a very special show, the Economic Compass 2025. As the sun sets on 2024 and dawns on the new year, a lot is at stake. The clock is ticking on India entering the $5 trillion economy club in the next 2 years. But are all ducks in the row to make this truly a reality? The economy is chugging along pretty strongly with interest rates expected to fall in the next few months as well. There are, however, some headwinds which threaten this sunny outlook. We have a distinguished panel of guests to discuss all of these and more issues. But first, here's a brief look at the economic past, present and future.
भारत 10 साल में दुनिया की 10वीं से 5वीं बड़ी इकोनॉमी बन गया।
It was a year when India maintained its status as the world's fastest growing major economy. With forex reserves at a healthy $650 billion, GST collections reaching new highs, and major stock indices up more than 8% on year. It was a year when India lost Ratan Tata, its biggest business Ratna. It was also a year when the country witnessed its grandest ever wedding and saw continued allegations and attacks against the Adani Group. 2024 also saw the re-election of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister for the third time, saw political parties throw fiscal caution to the wind and promise freebies to get votes, and also saw the election of Donald Trump as the US President for a second time.
If India charges us 100% and we charge them nothing for the same, they send in a bicycle and we send them a bicycle, they charge us 100 and 200, India charges a lot.
In 2025, it is this 78-year-old who could switch gears for the world economy. His threat of tariffs against America's biggest trading partners, his promise to create a strategic national Bitcoin reserve,
The Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say it.
and efforts to make the US dollar great again will set the direction for the global economic compass in the new year. Meanwhile, the newly discovered calm at the LSE between India and China, first with Modi-Xi meeting in Kazan and then NSA Ajit Doval's trip to Beijing, could signal winds of change for trade ties between the two powerful neighbors. What will also spin the compass in 2025 is the very real possibility of a rate cut on the Mint Street in February. This comes even as India's GDP growth fell to a 7-quarter low in the July-September quarter, sparking worries about the manufacturing sector. This also comes as the US Federal Reserve indicated that it may slow the pace of its rate cuts next year, which along with selling by foreign institutional investors is making the Dallas Street nervous. Another major worry is inflation, particularly high food prices which cloud the economic horizon in 2025. India, however, still remains a bright spot in the world economic map, and Budget 2025 is expected to place more money in the hands of the consumer, giving a consumption boost to the economy. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
And now let me introduce to all of you to our top guests on the show. I'm joined by Aditi Nair, Chief Economist of ICRA. She will be sharing with us the true state of Indian economy at the current level. At the same time, she will also help us understand where is the Indian economy headed in the new year 2025. A warm welcome to you, Aditi. We also have with us Sugandha Sachdeva, the founder of SS Well Street, who will now be sharing with us an outlook on commodities and currencies. That's gold, silver, rupee, and even a bit of Bitcoin is what we will understand. And we also have Mr. Sudip Bandyopadhyay. He is the Group Chairman of IndiTrade Capital to share with us an outlook on the stock markets and where should you be investing your money in 2025 for great returns. Warm welcome to all of you. Season's greetings and thank you so much for taking the time out. Aditi, I'm going to start off with you. Tell us what is really impacting growth in India, and more importantly, will this be a continued risk of further slowdown in the new year?
Thank you, Sakshi. Well, we do think that the Q2 print was probably the trough, and now we expect that growth prints are going to look better in Q3 and Q4. Specifically, there were a lot of transient factors that did have an impact on the pace of growth in Q1 and Q2. Between the elections, the heat wave in Q1 and excess rainfall in Q2, some of these factors, of course, are behind us now, and so we don't expect that disruption going ahead. We have our ICRA Business Activity Monitor, which is a compendium of 16 high-frequency indicators, and that's showing us that the pace of volume growth has improved in October-November as compared to Q2. So that is one of the reasons that we're hopeful that the growth prints are going to look better. Also, we are awaiting more data, but there is a lot of headroom for government capex to grow in the second half of the year. And if that comes through, then that certainly will be a supportive factor to growth. Rural demand should also be more steady now. That we have a reasonable Kharif output, Rabi sowing is on track, and reservoir levels are fairly healthy in most of the regions. So this is another reason why we feel that H2 growth will pick up. Overall, we're looking at a GDP growth of 6.5% each in FY25 and in FY26.
Okay, got that. In fact, we also spoke to Mr. Neelkant Mishra. He's the Chief Economist at Axis Bank, and he also shared his outlook on the growth in FY26. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
We expect that as the year progresses, we should see a steady improvement in the economic momentum, and FY26 should be closer to 7% real growth.
All right. In fact, now let me just go across to Mr. Sudip Bandyopadhyay. I'm coming to you next, sir, to understand a little bit more detail. Tell us what are the big learnings that investors should take from 2024 and what is the outlook on 2025? Will we continue to have another year of strong growth or will we have to temper down our expectations?
Look, there are a lot of things which have happened over the last 3-4 months which have led to a certain amount of realism coming back to the market. One is, of course, there has been massive withdrawal from Indian markets by the foreign institutional investors. We have been talking about China becoming relatively attractive and things like that, but that's a very small part of it. I think the fact remains that the mother market, which is the US market, has been providing fantastic returns, and a lot of money is going back to US with Donald Trump coming back as president and US economy getting preeminence in the thinking of the political class in US. I think money will also move back. A lot of money move back to US from multiple geographies across the world, and that includes India. So we have to brace for that. The second factor is, unfortunately, we are also going through a bit of a slowdown, as you have been already pointing out, and the economists in the panel as well as experts have been pointing out that I think the Q2 wasn't good. Corporate results was also not good. And we are not expecting any great Q3 numbers as well as things stand now. So under the circumstances, the valuation at which Indian market was looking a bit stretched, and bit of correction has happened. Some bit of correction may still happen going forward. So we have to be a little realistic about the market expectation in the next calendar year. I'm not saying it's all gloom and doom. I think, as you rightly pointed out, interest rates in the economy are going to come down, and that should give a growth a fillip. We also have a lot of capital expenditure which is planned by the government, and private sector also is joining. So that's also good. And finally, I would say is that, corporate India has learned their lessons from earlier slowdowns, and a lot of belt tightening has happened. I expect Q4 onwards, corporate India also should start producing better results. Now, all this should add towards a positive bias in the market going forward, but it has to be a stock pickers market, and we have to remember that.
But a double-digit return, would you expect that, or should one rule that out?
Well, double-digit return is definitely possible because we are expecting an EPS growth which is in double-digit. So return should be double-digit. But I would say is that one has to be extremely stock specific in this matter as well.
Sure. Okay, Sugandha, let me come to you. Your sector really outperformed this year, 2024. Gold and silver outshone all the other asset classes. I mean, 27% returns for gold this time around as well. Tell us, what is the outlook? Should one actually go all in? Probably the large part of portfolios should be allocated towards gold and silver even in 2025. What's your expectation?
Hi, Sakshi. Thanks for having me on your show, and season's greeting to you, my co-panelists, and all the viewers. So talking about gold can flaunt returns of around 27% in international markets this year and around 21% at the domestic market. A lot of factors have contributed to this massive run that we have seen in gold prices, be it the robust central bank buying, the easing by major banks, especially Fed, which has started its rate cut cycle in September and has gone actually very aggressive and have almost cut by 100 basis points. So these have been the two major catalysts. Apart from that, geopolitical tensions have driven gold prices to record highs this year of around 27.90 per ounce and around 80,000 mark in the domestic market. This trend is likely to continue in 2025 as well because there's a lot of uncertainty after Trump assumes office on 20th of January. There are a lot of concerns about fiscal uncertainty as well as the tariffs being imposed on Chinese goods. Alongside this, geopolitical worries are likely to continue in 2025, and central banks which have been diversifying their reserves away from dollar, this buying is likely to continue in 2025 as well. So in 2024 till quarter 3, central banks have already loaded up on around 694 tons of gold. They're actually moving away from dependency on dollar. This is likely to continue in 2025 as well. So a lot of factors are contributing, but yes, we have seen some pullback of sort in this current quarter, majorly driven by the strength that we have seen in dollar index after Trump's win in the US presidential elections. So this could be a slight dampener. So we cannot expect similar returns that we have seen in 2024, but yes, gold is likely to remain in demand in 2025 as well. And we are expecting returns of around 10 to 12% in 2025. So yes, talking about your question, gold should certainly form a part of everyone's portfolio, as it acts as a hedge against the depreciation that we are seeing in fiat currencies. A lot of volatility surrounding the geopolitical risk. So one should certainly allocate 10 to 15% of their portfolio towards gold in 2025 as well.
Right. So Sugandha, simplified for our viewers on India today. For gold and for silver in Indian rupees, what is the level that you're watching out for towards the end of 2025 then?
In terms of the levels that we are looking at, on the downside, gold prices are likely to remain supported by 68,000 mark. And on the higher side, we are looking at levels of around 84,000 for 2025. Overall demand for silver in industrial applications has been rising significantly, especially the solar panel sector, industrial applications like electronics and electric vehicles. So this is likely to keep silver also in demand. And this year, prices have been able to break this ceiling of $30 per ounce. So this is likely to work very well for silver prices in 2025 as well. Overall, we expect silver prices to test levels of around $40 first and then $42 per ounce as well in international markets. In terms of the domestic market, we have a near-term resistance at 1 lakh mark. Once that is surpassed, we are looking at first levels of around 1,10,000 and then 1,25,000 mark is also a possibility. at the domestic market.
All the economists are also looking out for how Donald Trump's 2.0 and tariff talk will impact Indian economy. Even before we've actually seen Donald Trump take office, there's already a lot of hullabaloo happening around which are the countries that are going to be on his top radar. It's not India that surfaced so far, but what could be the likelihood that India will also face the brunt of tariff talk, Aditi?
Firstly, we'll have to see whether tariffs are imposed across the board or are they imposed on specific countries. And I think that is going to be the key for us, in terms of understanding what could be the impact on our exports to the US. Now, my sense is that obviously, we will have heightened uncertainty in the coming year. But if we take a broader look at the current account deficit, for instance, for the current year, we are looking at a current account deficit of 1.3% of GDP, which is building in this record high trade deficit that we got in the month of November on the back of the gold imports, which news reports are suggesting may actually need to be corrected to some extent. So I would say 1.3% of GDP is our outer limit for the current account deficit for FY25. For FY26, we have a couple of rules of thumb that we're working with. One is that service imports will outpace merchandise imports growth. And the second is that merchandise import growth will outpace merchandise export growth, because we do think that domestic demand is going to grow faster than global demand, and especially given all these tariff-related uncertainties that we're talking about. Having said that, as of now, we're looking at a current account deficit which is closer to 1% of GDP in our baseline scenario. So even if the tariff-related concerns upset it a little bit, we don't expect the current account deficit to exceed 1.5% of GDP in FY26, which is a really very manageable level. It's not a level which is going to cause a lot of concern.
Okay, got that. Coming to you, Sudeep, I think the big question that all investors really want to understand from you is where to put in their fresh funds in 2025.
Well, I think as far as sector is concerned, one sector is related to the tariffs. I understand that the tariffs are a reality, and Trump has been talking about day one the tariffs will come. And I'm reasonably confident it will be differentiated tariff. And, the differentiated tariff, to my mind, will benefit India, particularly India's textile exports in a big way, because significantly imposed on China. Indian textile manufacturers, exporters will benefit in a big way. So that is one sector which can definitely be looked at for 2025. The other sector may be a bit contrarian, but I believe that IT will do well. Make USA great again has a implication of a lot of spending in US, and this will be led by financial services, manufacturing, and others in US. And some of the Indian top IT companies have a significant presence in US BFSI, US manufacturing, and to my mind, they will have a even further robust order book and excellent margins going forward. So as far as Indian IT, I think it's going to be a good year. Yes, they will have some visa-related challenges, but they have navigated that earlier during first Trump presidency, and they will, I'm sure, continue to do that going forward as well. So these are the two sectors which I'm particularly bullish because of what's going to happen in US. As far as sectors beyond sector specific stocks are concerned, I like insurance-related stocks. A lot of reforms are being proposed in insurance. One of them is, reducing bank assurance significantly. Now that benefits LIC disproportionately because LIC's bank assurance percentage is very small. Others will be disadvantaged. LIC will gain out of this measure. The second measure which is being talked about is life insurance companies will be allowed to sell non-life products and vice versa. Now, this again benefits LIC disproportionately because the kind of network LIC has, tomorrow when this is permitted, they will, in a very short time, I understand, will become a large health insurance player and large general insurance player as well. So, probably we'll see LIC 2.0 emerging very soon as this regulation comes in. So, LIC is one stock where I would, recommend investors to, invest now. The other stock which I like is, again, grossly undervalued to my mind today is Reliance Industries. I think, value unlocking will happen. Initial discussions are on for an IPO of Reliance Jio. Reliance Retail, some other value unlocking measures I'm sure will come. The traditional O2C business hasn't been doing that great, but long-term contracts are being signed there, which will augur well for the business going forward.
Talk to us a little bit about what is your expectation on these big conglomerates. Will they continue to generate wealth for investors in 2025? Reliance, you've already talked about. What about the Tata Group? What about Adani's, which have already been facing so much of trouble? Are these big conglomerates going to be at the forefront of creating wealth for investors in India?
I think there is already a talk of Tata Capital IPO coming in.
Yes.
And that is kind of mandated because of RBI wanting all tier 1 NBFCs to become listed, and Tata Capital comes in that. So they will have to do an IPO by September 25. So that will do some value unlocking for a lot of Tata companies which are large shareholders in Tata Capital. So I think that one-time value unlocking will happen. Apart from that, I think a lot of these businesses have been producing fantastic results, and they will continue to do that. And if Indian market continues to chug along, I think Tata group of companies also will continue to do well. I'm not picking any specific stock here, but I think the group will do well.
What about the Adani Group?
Adani, I think it's an extremely volatile segment. Adani Group stocks, and we know a lot of news flows come in which destabilize investor confidence. Then again, confidence comes back. Then again, some more news flow comes. So it's a very, very volatile pocket of the market. But certain Adani stocks we have been remaining positive, and we will continue to recommend. One is Adani Port, fantastic company, great potential, and every dip is an opportunity to buy. Both the cement companies, ACC, Ambuja, looks good. There is some consolidation happening with the smaller companies with Ambuja, and later on some more consolidation may happen, but this provides great opportunity for investors. The last one amongst the Adani companies, Adani Wilmar. I think the group is very keen on exiting this business, and once the exit happens, I understand value unlocking will happen. Some large conglomerate may buy it, or some large entity may buy it. So there is a value unlocking one-time opportunity in Adani Wilmar, so that also can be looked at.
Okay, understood. Coming back to Sugandha now, as far as some of the key points that have been raised by Aditi also on the currency factor, she's already expected some more weakening to happen. Tell us, as somebody who's been tracking the currency movements day in, day out, what is your expectation there? And the second factor will be oil. Because of the uncertainties around the globe continuing to be an overhang, what is your expectation on crude oil levels as well, Sugandha?
So, Sakshi, talking about rupee has largely been very stabilized. We have seen a lot of consolidation in rupee till the third quarter of this calendar year. But then in the fourth quarter, we have seen a sharp depreciation, and till date, rupee is down by around 2.5%.
Yeah.
So RBI has been managing their volatility in rupee. And in fact, it is majorly because of the recent jump that we have seen in dollar index, wherein in this current quarter, dollar index has risen by more than 7%. So this depreciation that we have seen in Indian rupee can largely be attributed to this fact also. Apart from that, the inflows have been quite sluggish. In fact, we have seen a trend reversal of sort in the current quarter where we have seen outflows from equity as well as debt market to the tune of around $10.3 billion this quarter. So reversing inflows of $20 billion till the previous quarter. So this is kind of acting as a dampener for the Indian rupee, and I see this depreciation to continue next year also on the back of the recent resurgence that we have seen in dollar index. Also, our forex reserves have declined to a 6-month low. So this depreciation is likely to continue at least in the first quarter of next year, where I see rupee heading lower towards level of around 86.5 to 86.8 mark. So considering both of these factors, rupee weakness is likely to continue, considering the strength in dollar index, and crude oil prices are also likely to act as a headwind for Indian rupee.
Okay, Aditi, coming to you on the weakening rupee, further adding pressure on the imported inflation, that's also likely to make the task for RBI yet again more difficult to tackle the rate cut journey. What is your expectation on the RBI rate cut front?
Our sense is that the CPI inflation could moderate to about 4.2% on average next year from 4.8% in FY25. And hopefully that should open up room for 50 basis points of rate cuts from the MPC, which could be spread between February and April or April and June. If we don't get this step down in the CPI inflation in the December print, then perhaps we'll need to wait for 2 rate cuts in April and then in June.
Okay, got that. In fact, we also spoke to State Bank of India chairperson C.S. Shetty on whether high inflation and the current weakening of the rupee will further add on to the pressure as far as the RBI rate cut trajectory is concerned. Let's quickly listen into what he had to say.
I think this demand for rate cut has been there for quite some time, I think. But I think RBI and MPC definitely are weighing the inflationary situation. Particularly on the food inflation side. Once it slightly moderates, I think they will be able to take a call on that.
Aditi, I'm coming back to you. You know, one of the points that Sudeep had alluded to in one of his earlier answers was the factor that private capex has still not picked up. I wanted to ask you on that front, do you think that will be the final spoke in the wheel that the economy really needs, that to start rolling? Is that expected to pick up pace at all? You know, what is it that is stopping private capex from taking place right now?
So, our sense is that private capex is happening, but it's happening at a modest pace, which may be more sustainable and realistic. We're not expecting very loud or very exuberant private capex to take off given the overall scheme of things. 50 basis points rate cuts will be nice, but it may not really be a game changer. We have to look at all the other drivers for growth. Domestic consumption is likely to remain uneven, although we expect there to be some improvement in that. And when we look at the export situation with the kind of heightened uncertainty that lies ahead of us, I think it's going to lead to a little caution, and we really don't expect the private capex sort of narrative to change very dramatically now, especially until there is some clarity on what to be expected on the export side.
Many thanks to you, Sugandha. Many thanks, Aditi and Sudeep, for being with us on this very special edition. We will wrap it up on that note. Here's wishing all of you, our viewers as well, a very happy upcoming New Year 2025, with hopes that this year turns out to be a great one for all of you, your families, in personal and professional lives as well, and hoping that our country progresses, economy progresses, and the markets also continue to soar to newer highs. With that, we wrap up. Many thanks for joining in onto this special.
भारत 10 साल में दुनिया की 10वीं से 5वीं बड़ी इकोनॉमी बन गया.
It was a year when India maintained its status as the world's fastest growing major economy. With forex reserves at a healthy $650 billion, GST collections reaching new highs, and major stock indices up more than 8% on year. It was a year when India lost Ratan Tata, its biggest business Ratna. It was also a year when the country witnessed its grandest ever wedding and saw continued allegations and attacks against the Adani Group. 2024 also saw the re-election of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister for the third time. Saw political parties throw fiscal caution to the wind and promise freebies to get votes. And also saw the election of Donald Trump as the US President for a second time.
If India charges us 100% and we charge them nothing for the same, they send in a bicycle and we send them a bicycle, they charge us 100 and 200. India charges a lot.
In 2025, it is this 78-year-old who could switch gears for the world economy. His threat of tariffs against America's biggest trading partners, his promise to create a strategic national Bitcoin reserve,
Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say it,
and efforts to make the US dollar great again will set the direction for the global economic compass in the new year. Meanwhile, the newly discovered calm at the LSE between India and China, first with Modi-Xi meeting in Kazan and then NSA Ajit Doval's trip to Beijing, could signal winds of change for trade ties between the two powerful neighbors. What will also spin the compass in 2025 is the very real possibility of a rate cut on the Mint Street in February. This comes even as India's GDP growth fell to a 7-quarter low in the July-September quarter, sparking worries about the manufacturing sector. This also comes as the US Federal Reserve indicated that it may slow the pace of its rate cuts next year, which along with selling by foreign institutional investors is making the Dalal Street nervous. Another major worry is inflation, particularly high food prices which cloud the economic horizon in 2025. India, however, still remains a bright spot in the world economic map, and Budget 2025 is expected to place more money in the hands of the consumer, giving a consumption boost to the economy. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Market Today. The last 1 hour of trade on Friday, which is also the last working day of this week, is bathed in green. The Nifty is up 92 points. The battle for supremacy between the bulls and the bears is at 23,850 today. The NSE 500, the broadest index that we track, is up 61 points, showing you a lot of enthusiasm for the broader market on the long side. The Nifty Bank added 144 and the IT index is up 64 points. In the wider space of the Dalal Street, you see hectic momentum as far as bulls are concerned. You'll notice that the advanced decline ratio at the moment is 1380 shares versus 1000 that are in the red. We tracked 19 indices for you out of 19, 16 in the green, and it's led by the auto space 1.5% higher, pharma space 1.4% higher. The mid cap and the small cap indices are also better placed. We had seen profit booking early morning, but all of that and a little bit more coming back to the small cap index, up 0.33%, and the mid cap index for the moment adding just a bit at about 57,174. Within the NSE 500, the advanced decline is 300:200. So bulls have a fine day out on the Dalal Street as far as the sentiment is concerned. Very quickly, I'll tell you the stocks that are doing pretty well on the Nifty. It's the auto day, therefore M&M is leading the parade, 2.9% higher, 3,061. Strong moves coming into ICICI Bank, the third highest weighted counter. Infosys in good shape, 0.5% higher. ITC now starting a rally ahead of its planned allotment of ITC hotel shares to existing shareholders. What's in pain? SBI 10 points lower on the Nifty because of the 1.1% cut in SBI. L&T down a bit, Hindalco a bit lower, ONGC and HCL Tech are the shares that are in pain. What we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, is we'll start a conversation today with Mr. Deepak Ramaraju. He's the Senior Fund Manager at Shriram Asset Management Company and a very fine individual as far as picking up the pharma space is concerned. Very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ramaraju. A very warm welcome to you in Market Today. We've seen a fairly disturbing quarter since September till about December, even the last 2 or 3 days. How do you read sentiment on the Dalal Street, and what do you make of this very sharp downdrift that has happened since the high that was hit in September and about a month's low that we are now seeing in December?
So, good afternoon. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Definitely, yes, the sentiments are a bit lower since September onwards. You're very clear on that. So that's specifically because we are seeing a bit delay in the government spending. The economic slowdown is being impacting the bottom line of the entire economy, especially. So when I tell that the bottom of the economy, it's almost to do with the MSME, and the lowest rate of the economy is getting impacted because of this slowdown. And this delay is what been the primary reason for that. That is one. And second thing is we also had a kind of uneven weather pattern during the course of the year. So that also led to the kind of higher food inflation. Also, the food inflation was also a bit sticky. And adding to this, the geopolitical conditions or geopolitical factors like your weakness in rupee and as well as dollar strengthening and kind of uncertainty on the global front also impacted a little bit on the overall demand scenario especially from the exports point of view. All these things led to the kind of overall slowdown in the economy. And that's been the primary reasons why the markets are also have taken a kind of beating, because that's going to impact the earnings of the company. So clearly there has been a bit of slowdown, and that's the reason we are seeing the markets consolidating right now, and we are seeing kind of the sell-off happening, and especially the most sell-off is being come from the FIIs. So they have been the major sellers in the markets in the last 4 months right now. So that's primarily the market movement.
Right. Deepak, let's just drill down to what your AMC has been doing over the last 3 months. Could you please share with us what's the highest weighted sector in the overall AUM that Shriram AMC enjoys for the moment?
So we run a kind of, our investment philosophy has got to do with the fundamental approach. So we run a combination of quant and as well as fundamental. So within the quants, we look at multi-factor kind of an approach, where we look at momentum, volatility, and kind of valuation kind of a basis. So definitely the momentum is kind of taken a backseat right now. It's the low volatility and as well as the value that is kind of outperforming relatively compared to the momentum. So when that is the case, so the sectors that we generally kind of positioning is, as of now, on the highest side is pharma, followed by FMCG. Consumption as a theme is kind of overweight as of now. Within that, we have this consumer durables and as well as consumption services. These are the sectors we are kind of grossly overweight. And apart from that, we were overweight on auto a little bit till the middle of September, and end of September, as we entered the end of September or October, we kind of trimmed our positions on the auto space, because the slowdown had kind of impacting the entire consumption side of the auto side. So that's the reason we kind of trimmed our position on the auto space to a large extent. But we increased our positioning on the IT a little bit. So after that, so the highest weighted sector as of now, we continue to hold pharma as being the highest bet as of now, and it's almost like 25% of the overall portfolio.
Okay, I'm sure you will not be naming stocks, but how much is the 25% AUM in terms of actual crore rupees, and how many stocks has this been spread over within the pharma and the hospital space?
So we have almost like the total AUM is around 600 crores all put together. So within that, if you look at the overall exposure to pharma space is almost close to 24%. And to name that again, it's almost 200 crores of exposure that we have almost close to all the entire pharma space. And almost 14 to 15 stocks have been kind of the holding, cross-holding across the portfolios in the pharma space as well.
Okay, let's also in the same breath examine the auto space. This Vahan registration data for the month of December has been terrible for two-wheelers. For instance, Hero Motors is the top loser in the auto space, and of course Maruti is not